YouTube was probably waiting for me, like, where is the live? Where is the live? Well, now we are live on all platforms for real. Hey, YouTube, how you doing? So for those who do not know, you can join me every Tuesday night, 9 p.m. here on Clubhouse, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. If you search any of those platforms for Coach K, CoachKay 101, you will find me in all of my current and previous videos, as well as making sure that you subscribe and follow and like all of the pages so you are notified when I do go live. So before I get into it, I'm super excited because this weekend I went to the Cocoa Drip. It is a all women Black owned business tour that they were going on of businesses that had products, and I had my wine this evening. But I always am looking for a napkin to put my wine on. So this young lady who hand makes these coasters, if you guys can see it here on any of the videos that I'm on, these are beautiful. She also makes wall art the same way. This is wood hand carved coasters. Her name is Brandy Best with Audacious Dreamer. Really amazing product. So I just want to make sure I give her a shout out because it's working for me. I'm not messing up my desk. I also want to let you guys know and remind you that Date Night RVA is kicking off. Registration is wide open. So if you are in Richmond, Virginia, or any of the surrounding areas, you are a married or engaged or committed couple, Date Night RVA is for you. This is a couples dating club where we have fully executed dates twice a month, weekly mindfulness stretching classes together, and so much more. So to learn more about Date Night RVA, you can go to datenightrva.net right now. Sign up for a free information session where you can do a Q&A, ask me anything that you want to ask me about getting yourself started. The membership tiers start at $75 and they go up to $250, but you want to go to an info session to learn what you get. Thank you for all the love over there on Instagram. So let's dive into this thing tonight. For those who are joining me for the first time, welcome and thank you for joining me. My name is Kanya, but I go by Coach K. I am your favorite life coach and certified clinical sexologist, as well as a master sexologist who works with women and couples. I work with women in the avenue of understanding, accepting our value, our worth, setting those personal boundaries, and I do it through self-love, accountability, and showing you how to truly own your sexuality. Because when you own it, you show up differently. I work with couples with getting the intimacy literacy together, making sure that we're speaking the same language so that we can achieve those marital and committal goals with our partners always. Speaking of that, this chat, which is Sex, Love, and Marriage, is a discussion that I do every single Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on all topics surrounding sex, love, and marriage that you want to get started, sparked, or at least scratch the surface on. Today, we are talking about protecting your spouse or protecting your partner. Where are the boundaries? Are there boundaries? Should there be boundaries? Should you live by what someone has told you it should be? Oh my gosh, we're going to talk about all of that. Again, for any of the platforms, if you're joining me, please feel free to share this out to anyone who you feel like could benefit from the conversation or that can add value to the conversation, because you know, I'm not here to be right. I'm just here to be heard and get the conversation started. Y'all see, I got my boo back in the background. She had fell off the wall the other day. I think she was upset about something. I don't know. But she's back on my wall because she always got my back. That's my MJB. Anybody who know MJB, tell her, give me a call because I love her. So we're talking about protecting my spouse, protecting your spouse or your partner. And of course, the reason why this has come up because of the the most talked about night that happened on the 27th at the Oscars, where there was an altercation between Will Smith and Chris Rock. While I will not, I repeat, while I will not go into the details of that situation, because number one, it has probably been played out and talked about enough. And number two, I just don't want to talk about the details of it, because sometimes when you go into details of something, you lose the message. What I want to do is talk about what it looks like when you're protecting someone who you love. So right after this happened, I put up a nice message on Instagram as well as Facebook. So feel free to run over there and read that message on that post. And one of the things I did when I shared the video that was attached to it is I blurred out, or I blocked out, the actual instance where there was contact between the two men. And someone came to the page and they were so upset. Why would you block this out? That's some clown mess. And I made it very clear that the important part to me is the message of what I want to say about this situation versus the action that all of us see. Many of us get so wowed and ooh and ah about negative actions that show, but we don't really sit back, take a step back to think about all of the surroundings that goes with this action. And so that's why I did it. I did not want people to be so bogged down with, oh my gosh, these two got into it, blah, blah, versus the why. One of the reasons why I got into the business that I am in now, as a life coach and a certified sexologist, and I do intimacy coaching and marriage coaching. One of the reasons that I got into this is because I've always been a very curious person about the why. When I work with couples, when I work with women, I like to do a deeper dive into the why. So if we're thinking about this scenario, we have a husband and a wife who's attending an event, and there's someone on a platform that made a comment to the wife. Now, on the surface, what everyone is saying is, well, the husband laughed at first. And then on the surface, there was seen that the wife was visibly just not feeling it at all, not feeling that joke at all. But what happened, well, I can't say that. So what happened is right after the eye roll and the laugh from the wife and husband, the camera cut away. So what we on the outside, as well as anyone else who is outside of that man and that woman, did not see or hear or feel was whatever transpired between the two, between where the camera was watching and where it cut away. One thing that I know for sure, when it comes to someone being in a protective mode of their loved one, what it looks like to me, it won't look the same for you. I know for a fact that if I am upset, if someone hurts my feelings, my husband immediately reacts. Whether or not he's going to come to me and say, baby, you okay? What's going on? Or if he heard or saw something happen and he assumes that he knows what's going on and he reacts that way, that's just his makeup. He does that with all five of our children. He does that with his parents. We talk about it often, don't get me wrong, and we're getting better at taking a breather before we react. But when someone is in that mode of, you just hurt someone who I love and I care about and I cherish and I respect, and so I must come after you, it is very hard to pull them back. you also are not able to tell them how they should or should not react, because we don't know what is transpiring actively behind the scenes between these two. Now, if you're in a situation, and I'll just use myself because these are facts I know about me, I won't speak about anyone else. I have a heart condition, and it's not the best heart condition. It's something that was fairly new, at least a year ago, that it wasn't even written in the medical books. And so there was no protocol for it. So the doctor basically told me, I don't know if we should put a defibrillator in because there's no protocol for it. And the only way that we'll know if you need one is if you drop dead. And he said, I'm not trying to scare you. I was like, you know what? I understand. I'm a realist. I'm meat and potatoes. Give me the truth. Don't give me fluff. So I get it. This is something that I am very open about with our children and with my husband. So they know this. They know of the years of any episodes that I've had with weakness and my heart not acting right and things just being not in the best. My husband has sat through those times where he felt like I was going to be gone. And so he watched my frustration with, I just want this thing to be fixed. I don't want to be sick anymore. I don't want to deal with it. He watches that. And so if we were to go somewhere and say that there was someone who knew us because we were friendly, not necessarily that we were friends, but we were friendly. And say we went somewhere and they took a jab, or what I felt was a jab, at my medical condition and my heart condition. And because it was all jokes and love in the beginning, he laughed, but I made it very clear that that hurt me and it bothered me. I know that my husband would have reacted because he's watched me go through this heart condition. He's watched me almost pass out. He's watched me, when I have episodes and the kids are scared. He's watched all of this. So we have to take all of those things in consideration when we watch someone's reaction to when they're in protective mode. I'm a firm believer in absolutely, you protect those that you love, care about, and respect. I will admit I am a mama bear to the core. When my children come to me and they tell me that someone has bothered them, if it's not an emergent situation, I will ask questions. But there has been those times where I have witnessed what I felt like was an instance where something wasn't right, or someone pushed my kid, or someone did something to my child, and I immediately react. I don't go up to kids and just, hit them or anything like that, but I will yell, hey, keep your hands off of each other. I make it a mutual thing. If there was ever a situation where I pulled up to the school to pick up my child and I watched somebody push them down to the ground, I would probably react in a way of running up to that child and pushing them back and getting my child up off the ground to find out what's going on. So when you go into protective mode of your loved one, someone who you love, someone who you cherish, and someone who you respect, someone who you watched in the background, you watched everything that they've gone through, all of their trials, all of their tribulations, all of their wins, all of their losses. When you've watched someone and even when you're looking and trying to repair the relationship, you may not be speaking to the kid. They could have made you mad. You may not be speaking to your spouse because they made you mad. But in a time of what you view as distress or hurt for that loved one, you will react. Now, keep in mind, guys, while you are listening, please feel free to drop your comments in the chat or if you're on Clubhouse, please feel free to come up on stage and add your input. Again, I'm not here to be right. I'm here to be heard and get the conversation started. We are talking about protecting your spouse and your partners. We're talking about, are there boundaries? Are there limits? I put a poll up on Instagram and I asked just that. When it comes to protecting your partner, do you react, or what do you do? And one of the responses was, I would find out what's going on. Very legit response. Some people do. They're not natural just jumpers. If you think about deer, if you're ever riding down the road and you see a family of deer on the side of the road, you see a mama deer, you may see a daddy deer, and you see some little baby deers, a doe, a buck, and some fawns. Yeah, I know fancy terms. I do. So you see them out there, and cars are just going back and forth. But then all of a sudden, they all jump up and they start running. Now, cars have been going up and down this road this entire time. But at some point, one of them went into protective mode because something got too close to where they were. Those deer didn't stop, look at each other, and talk in their language and say, oh, I wonder what's going on. I wonder what's getting close to us. They didn't do that. They naturally just jumped and darted, usually out in the street in front of your car, which is horrible. But their natural reaction is just to react without thinking. Now, they may think after they done got hit by a car, or they might get grazed by something else. Oh, I don't know what deer think about. I'm not going to even sit here and try to think about it. But my point is, when we go into a protective mode, there is little to nothing that someone can do or say that will pull us out of that before we have already reacted to this thing. And when it comes to matters of the heart, and I want us all to think back to when we were younger and we had our little crush, whether it been on a teacher or another person, and somebody else had a crush on them too, or maybe somebody was, talking about the person or whatever. You naturally wanted to turn into a prize fighter, and you wanted to fight the person. You didn't have self-control back then. All you were thinking of is, I love this person and someone else does too, or they're trying to touch them, or they're trying to harm, whatever it was. You do things a lot of times without even thinking. When a child is about to run out in the street, as a mother, you're going to run out in the street without thinking. You're not thinking about if the car is going to hit you or not. You naturally react because you went into protective mode. You cannot say how fast, what it looks like, what it sounds like to be in protective mode for anyone else other than yourself. And so for so many people to have this, well, why didn't he smack Alzina, whatever the guy was who was messing with her, that's just is a mute point, is irrelevant to the situation. This man reacted to what was happening in that mode. I've been trying my darndest to let go of this extra weight that I picked up in the last 12 months. So I've been working hard. I'm still bad when it comes to eating, but I've been working hard on trying to lose this weight. So if we out in public and somebody says something about my weight, my husband knows that's going to hurt me. He going to go after them. Simple as that. If I know that my husband has an ailment, say he had a short arm, or say he was disabled in some kind of way, and someone says something while we're out in public, I am absolutely going to go into protective mode, and I'm going to say or do something to that person. It is what it is. I can admit it. It's not the healthiest way to be, but sometimes when you go into protective mode, your rationality goes away. You're not always thinking about, well, I wonder what those people are going to think about me. I wonder what they may do to me. I wonder what the consequences are going to be. If you've ever sat in a courtroom or watched a court case, ever in life, of someone who was remorseful for an action that they took, it is typically because they went into some sort of mode that did not allow them to think this process all the way through. And it's not just young people, it's all of us as humans, as natural beings. When we go into protective mode, we don't always think rationally. And so when it comes to protecting your spouse, I am all for it. I'm not saying that you have to be violent, and I'm not pushing people to be violent. But what I am saying is, I want you to know, out of all of this mess that just happened 2 days ago, that it is perfectly okay to give yourself permission to be a protector of those who you love, respect, care for, and cherish. That is including yourself. What someone thinks of you based on how you react to something that has hurt someone that you care about, who gives a flying fish? Because at the end of the night, at the end of the day, or at the end of whatever time that you and your partner get back home, that is a discussion for you and your spouse. United front. As a married couple, right is right and wrong is wrong. But hurt is hurt and it's deep. No one wants to see their spouse hurt. And as fixers, because that's what we are, both men and women, when it comes to our partners, we always want to see them happy. We want them to have the best because we give them that at home. We expect that it's happening everywhere. And so when we see our partners or our spouses hurt, we want to figure out a way to fix it. And so we go into protective mode. Are there boundaries? Are there limits? That's for you to determine. I know that I do have limits. I'll tell my husband in a heartbeat, look, I'm not fixing to go to jail. I don't like jail. I don't want to go to jail. I don't want to die. Well, I'll say I don't want to suffer. So I do a little bit more thinking. And I'm going to be extremely stereotypical here. But hear me out, y'all. Just hear me out. A vast majority of men, younger men and older men, are more prone to be reactors versus thinking the situation through and then saying something. So right here on YouTube, Shitshar likes, she says, not agreeing with what he did, but I want to know how much does the world want Will to take? He's been publicly humiliated by his wife for the past few years. Where was his protection? And that's a good point. There's so many layers when it comes to that specific situation. There are so many layers. And that goes into the protective mode of, all of us. When I'm saying that we're protecting our partners, there's always layers to what it is. There's always the breaking point. And you don't know when I tell my husband that all the time. I tell my children that who drive. I got children 23, 22, even the 16 and 15-year-old. I even tell a 10-year-old. I tell all of them. I will tell anyone. You never know where you are coming into someone else's situation. And so while you may be in protective mode and you may go after someone, you don't know where in the process that person may be. They could be in a place where they're just ready, sitting on ready to react back to your reaction. So where I was saying is, most men are more on the I'm just going to jump in and I'll ask questions later. I will say, for women, that is typically the action when they're under the age of 35. As we get older, we do tend to want to think a little bit more before we just react. And for the ladies out there, I know at least 85 to 90% of y'all done went after another chick behind your man, or what you thought was your man, because it could have been a community man and you just didn't know it. But now that you're older, you look back like, oh my gosh, that was some mess. I'm just, in that moment, what were you protecting? Were you protecting your heart? Were you protecting your feelings? Were protecting your, trying to save face? But no matter what, you were in protective mode of some sort. And so you weren't rationally thinking. And yes, I put everybody in a box, but I was just, I just like to give extreme examples, because that still gets the conversation started with you guys, because you can wean it back to reality at any point in time. And so we are coming up on 9:30. I don't like to hold you guys late because I'll be in here. I'll have you here all day, and I definitely don't want to do that. But I definitely want to I want this just to be a huge reminder that you have every right to go into protective mode for yourself and for those that you care about and love. Had Chris decided to strike back and react in that moment, then it could have definitely escalated. So that's something that you definitely want to think about. In the same breath, I want you to remember that you are no one else's rule maker on how they react when they go into protective mode. I get it. I understand. As a parent, I always want to protect my children. As a wife, I always want to protect my husband. I don't want people to talk negatively about him. But how I react is how I react. How you react is how you react. I don't care about judgment of myself, because the only judgment that matters is the one that comes from the person that stares back at me when I'm looking in the mirror. That's just it. That's just what it is. So this thing will linger on, the details of that case will linger on. This is absolutely a great discussion to have in the household with your partner, because there are so many relationships and marriages that break down because someone does not feel protected. I can imagine the feeling that you're in a marriage or in a relationship and you just don't feel protected. How on guard you must be at all times. It makes you feel devalued as a person. So to have someone stand up for your feelings, protect you in the way that you feel and care about how you feel, it adds to the intimacy bank. And for anyone who's been on my lives before, you know about this intimacy bank, and I talk about it all the time. It absolutely adds to the intimacy bank. So Ride with Prize here on Instagram said you hit it right on the head with that, not feeling protected. Yes. that will absolutely break down a relationship very quickly. And so I want you to always remember that protecting yourself is first and foremost, the most important thing. But protecting your partner is right there up there with it. And it's not just a physical protection. It is a mental, emotional, spiritual. It is a protective covering that you each should have with each other to add to the intimacy bank that is shared between the two. This just really reminds me of in 3 days. No, what's today? Tuesday, and 2 days. My second annual Fools in Love Couples Retreat will kick off. I have 3 amazing couples that are coming in. My limit was 5. I have couples coming from Ohio, Florida, and then right here in Virginia. And I'm super excited because these are the conversations that we will have during this retreat. They're going to get 4 days of activities, coaching. What you guys get on live is just a small tip of the iceberg of what these couples are going to get starting Thursday of this week. I'm so excited for them and for me. So if you guys want to get in on next year's retreat, just make sure you're connected with me so that when the dates open up and registration open, you're one of the first to know about it. And before I leave you tonight, I want to remind you again, for anyone that is in Richmond, Virginia, or any of the surrounding areas, even up to Durham, because that's only a 2-hour drive. I was just up there this weekend for an awesome event. Date Night RVA is coming. Registration for membership is open. The Q&A sessions will be happening. The next one is tomorrow at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can register for the Zoom. It's totally free to you. Come in, ask questions, learn about the home of it. Oh, need to announce to y'all that I actually Love and Intimacy 101 LLC now has a home. I'm so excited. I just signed my lease that I'll be moving in on April the 1st. So my business has a shell, and this is where Date Night RVA will live. Yes, it is for married, engaged, and committed couples who find it difficult to create the time to date each other. I'm super passionate about dating beyond the dating phase. Me and my husband, we continue to date. That's why after 18 years together and 16 married, people think that we just got married. We date often. Date Night RVA is just that, fully executed dates just for you. You literally just show up and you date each other. So go to datenightrva.net. Sign up for the free info session tomorrow. I have another one next week. I thank you guys for being with me tonight. I will be back to next Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where the topic will be sex being a chore. We're definitely going to talk about it. When does sex become a chore? We're going to talk about it next Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Remember that you can follow me on all of my social media platforms. If you just do a search for Coach K 101, COACHKAY 101, you will find me. You will find all of my videos. Make sure you subscribe, like, follow, and share. Share the content with anyone who you feel can benefit from the discussion and that can add value. If you're catching a replay, #replay, and leave your thoughts behind. Thank y'all for rocking with me tonight. I'm going to finish this little wine off on my little coaster by Audacious Dreamer. She's right here on Instagram, audacious.dreamer. Get your coaster or wall art. That is so beautiful. All right, good night, everybody. See y'all later.